further ado, Lee, take it away.
Thank you very much. And I'm excited to have everybody here. The This would be a little bit of PowerPoint and a lot of demo. So bear with the PowerPoint. I imagine that people showed up because they've been hearing about ChatGPT, and I, as of maybe 4 weeks ago, it was not on my radar. And like the name chat made me think of chat bots, and what does a data analytics person need a chat bot for? So uh, clearly my mind has changed, and I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about what I think is a hugely transformational happening. This is probably not quite as big as the advent of the internet itself, but it's certainly a bigger probably than the advent of word processing. So if you think about how the world changed from people who typed on a typewriter to all that came after that, industries changed, jobs changed. So ChatGPT is an artificial intelligence language model, also sometimes called an LLM for large language model, developed by OpenAI. It's capable of generating natural language text that is similar and in style of and coherence to human written text. Now, that description is an official description, but it doesn't really tell you what ChatGPT can do. I hope through the demo today to help bring clarity. Um, it's a big deal. Just to understand how big a deal it is, Microsoft invested an original $1 billion and all the services of Azure. I mean, they built massive supercomputer just to train the model. And by the way, they trained it essentially on all of the internet up to 2021. They recently put another 10 billion into the partnership. There's ChatGPT reached a milestone of I don't know, I think it's more than 1 million. I think it's 100 million now, faster than any other, faster than Facebook got there, faster than Snapchat got there, faster than any other product to get to that scale. That's, I mean, it's just really blowing up big. And Microsoft is adding ChatGPT across all of its products, and it's already in Bing. And if I have time, I'll give you a tiny demo of that. But those of you who have a little gray around, like I have, might remember there was a time when Microsoft responded the same way to the internet. Netscape was the browser, the internet was new, and Microsoft had missed it. And then they turned on a dime and said, "We're going to build the internet into everything we do," right? And they went on to, you know, that history is known. Google, who is one of the AI kings, you would think, they issued a code red over the rise of ChatGPT. They actually called in Sergey and Larry back saying, "You guys got to come back and help us deal with this threat." They have basically what I just described, how Microsoft responded to Netscape back in the day. Google is responding to OpenAI slash Microsoft the same way. They realize it's a big deal. They realize it's a direct threat to their entire business model. They've already come out with their own presentation of Bard, which is going to be their competitor. It actually went a little embarrassing for them, but I bring this up just to help you understand, to set the context that whether or not any of us are ever going to be people that develop AI products, like I know I'm never going to do that, but I've never developed a database product either. I use database tools, and lots of us are going to be using these AI tools. So, what should data and analytics professionals care? Why? Why should we care? Well, it can help you write code. It can help you comment your code. It can explain a SQL statement. It can help you write content, help you summarize content, and help you write emails. This isn't the totality of every use case. This is just what I'm already using ChatGPT in my own work. I paid the money. I paid $20 a month because The free version is great, does everything, but anytime during the day, it's going to be, capacity is reached and you can't get in. I've already finding it so helpful that, again, I'm not telling anybody else have to do, but I'm telling you that what I'm about to show you is stuff I'm actually using already. This isn't the future. It's not coming. It's already here. And are there drawbacks? I'll hit this because, again, I'm going to get rid of the slides and just jump into the demo. But um, keep this in mind that it's trained on the entire internet. So the internet's got errors, right? So if the data, garbage in, garbage out, we've known that forever. There can be bias, right? Because the content that it was trained on has bias, and so what it puts out can be biased. The current ChatGPT doesn't go into 2022, so it knows nothing about current events. And there are ethical concerns. There will be lawsuits. I'm sure there already are, trying to figure out, who owns what, right? But you know, that's not going to keep me from using it as a tool. I'll let the Titans fight that out and deal with the fallout. Will people lose jobs to AI? Did secretaries lose jobs to word processors? No, they just stopped using typewriters and started using word processors, and so did everybody else. So the day of the typing pool went away, right? Because it became a skill everybody could have. So I don't think anybody needs to worry that AI is going to take their job. But people who use AI tools are very likely going to be far more productive than people who don't. So that's the little bit of um, drama before we get in. And this is just one of the tools out there, ChatGPT. Bing is already building it into it. Google has already previewed Bard. I'm going to show you a little bit of U.com, which works with ChatGPT's APIs, but also integrates search and new data. There's a site called Future Tools IO that I'll just highlight that exists. You guys can go look at it on your own. But there are many bloggers, many people on Twitter and on YouTube that are putting out content. I don't recommend that everybody listen to all the voices, but I would add this to your set of technologies that you're just kind of paying attention to, seeing what's going on out there. There are AI tools for creating images, music, translations, and so much more. The dam has broken, and we're at the beginning. I don't think we're at the end. We're definitely not mature, but it's not the future. This is already here today, but how good it is today is just a small sign of how good these tools are going to get. All right, I kind of flew through that because I wanted to get to the demo. I'll pause real quick. Am I talking too fast? Anybody want to chime up and say slow down? Am I clear?
Sound good to me, Lee?
Thank you. All right. So we're looking at ChatGPT. Uh, the every time you start a new chat, and it's kind of like a conversation. You ask it a question, it responds, and then you interact and it remembers the context. So we're going to go over some of the work I've done previous, and I'm going to do a lot of copy and pasting because I want you to see how this stuff happens live, but I didn't want to, you know, what if it didn't generate the code that I was prepared to talk to you guys about? All right. So I'm going to take this here. We're going to talk about the first bullet point, which is how can it help you write code? So I have this whole conversation, I have the results, but I'm going to start it fresh, new chat, as if I had never done that chat before. Write a Python script to connect to Snowflake and retrieve the 10 most recent queries from the query history view. Have the connection information stored in a separate config file. I actually made a little video about this and already put it up on Teams. If you didn't see it, or if it was just on Strive side, not all of our launch side, let me know. But it's going to write a Python script. Now, I know Python a little bit, enough to be dangerous. This is not my stock and trade. But even if I knew Python and was a really great Python coder, how nice to be able to have it whip out the beginning. It knew I didn't have to explain what Snowflake was. It knew that there's a connector, and then it writes the code and then explains the code to you. Which is also kind of cool. Not only does it write the code, it explains what the code is doing. Are you guys able to see this? Is this too small? Anybody want to chime up?
Looks good.
Fine with me.
Now, so it wrote Python code. I copied the code and paste, and I did. I copied the code and I pasted it in a file and I ran it. And guess what? There were bugs. But just like when I write code myself, there were bugs. So the first thing I traced it down to was I didn't have the rights to run this command. And I'm looking at it and it didn't add the role. Everything in Snowflake is in the context of a role. So I just came in here and I said, you forgot to add the role to the connection. Remember, this is where the chat and ChatGPT comes from, right? This is not just about writing chat bots. It's just saying you're in a conversation. And by God, it's going to write and it's going to add role. See right there. Now, I had asked it to well, it's writing it out. I had asked it to put the connection information in a separate file. And then I said, provide an example config file. And then it wrote the config file for me. And all I had to do was go in and change and add my connection information. Okay. So now it's rewritten it, it's added the role. And then I ran this code and there was another error. And I'm looking through. When I write this code, the query select star, for me, it would be from snowflake.account_usage.query history view. But there's also a table function that I never use, but it's valid. And it referenced, table function, information schema.query history. And then so I went and looked up the syntax because I wasn't as familiar. And it turns out that in this code, it didn't do the limit by, look at that. This time it wrote the code a different way. So when it wrote it the first time, and this is why I wanted to say what I did before, because it won't always do exactly the same thing. When it wrote the code the first time, it did the limit equals 10. And the syntax is actually result_limit equals 10. So this code didn't work. But I fixed it and it worked. So, in 5 minutes, I had working code, maybe 10 minutes, but it would take me that long just to type it out myself, even again, if I knew how to do all the pieces, right? So this is definitely a code enhancement tool. But look at it this time. This time when it wrote the code, it didn't put the limit there. It put limit 10. And this is how I would have written the code. So that's kind of interesting. What if you didn't want this in, can you say rewrite the code using Java? Because Snowflake works with Python or Java. And it does. And this is a language model. This blows my mind that they're able to get all this code out. Now, one of the ethical concerns people had was, hey, this is copying other people's code and giving it to you. And in some ways, that's exactly what you do when you go to Reddit or any support site and you ask for help and someone sends you code or you look at their code. But according to ChatGPT or OpenAI, the company behind it, they have filters in there that will catch it if it's like retrieving exact code that somebody else had written. It filters that out. And on the other hand, they say only 1% of the queries for code match code. So whatever filter they have, I guess it lets 1% through. But it's writing code. It's not just searching for existing code. It's learned from the code base. Now, here's a fun one. So that was how it can help you write code, and I've used it to write SQL. It's really fascinating to me what this thing can do. So I came in today, and one of the things I wanted to demonstrate is that it can comment code. So let me come up here. What am I looking at? Go back to retrieve Snowflake queries. All right, I've lost my place where I had to add comments. So I'm just going to go over here and put in. But see, this already has comments in it. Let me see if I can't find. All right, so you're gonna have to trust me on that one. I'll skip and we have time, come back to it. I just found code on the internet and I typed it in. It wasn't commented, and I asked it to add comments, and it did a really great job. And I was showing this to Martin, and Martin said, "Well, could it translate those comments to Spanish?" I asked it to, and it did. So that's pretty cool. So I went another thing you can do is you can ask it to explain a SQL statement. So I went to TPC has benchmarks, so they have all these queries and stuff, and different database vendors will run the TPC benchmarks. So Snowflake provides a sample set of data that you can run these queries against. So I went and I copied a query, and I said, please. Yeah, you don't have to use the word please. It starts to feel like a human to me, so I start treating it that way. Please give a business description of what the following SQL does. Then pop it in. Oops. And even the part up here, it's kind of basically reading the SQL back to you. But at the end, it says overall, this SQL query provides revenue insights for a specific supplier and customer nations over a specified date range and is useful for analyzing performance of a company's sale. I mean, that just blew my mind that it really gave a business insight to what the SQL could accomplish. Another thing I'll do is, as I will say, pretty print and add comments to the SQL. Again, it remembered what SQL statement I had just asked it to give a description of. And so now it's rewriting that SQL, pretty printed, and putting inline comments. All right, let me pause for a second and give opportunity for questions.
Mostly I'm just speechless. I'm going to have to absorb this. This is wild.
See, you know what? I didn't want questions. I wanted to hear that comment. I mean, I do want you guys to ask questions, but I wanted to hear that. Like when I'm sharing this with people, it blows their mind, blew my mind, and that's why I came up with the topic to share. But it's going to get better. This isn't the main purpose. Like, wait till you see what's coming. All right. Anyway, I asked it to pre-print, which it did. And another time I asked it to put the comments at the beginning. It said sure, and then it didn't. So it's not perfect, but it's pretty damn cool. All right, so let's move on from coding. And I'm not saying that I've exhausted everything you could do with this, but let's talk about how it can help you write content. So I have a cousin who sent me a blog article that he wrote. He wanted me to give him some feedback and input. And let me see if I have it. Window. Oh, come on, Lee.
And we've proven that ChatGPT is bilingual, by the way.
Yeah. So here's this article. It's a little bit rambling. It's a little, what a young man who's not the world's most experienced blog writer might write. A little too personal, informal. That's the word I'm looking for. So I copied it, and you pop it in Chat GPT. Please rewrite the following. The following for brevity and clarity. And again, I know we're the long period of text, and I'm not, trying to bore the bejesus out of all of us, but I'm telling you, this rewrite is exactly succinct and clear, and yet made the points that his talk made. Boom, just like that. So he took the rambling without really missing anything. And watch this though. Rewrite, add some humor and a quote from an industry luminary. Now, notice I don't tell it what industry. Data is like a precious little diamond in the rough. It's both useful and valuable, but it takes some effort to polish it up and make it shine. As we all know, without data, you might as well be shooting in the dark with a blindfold on. I mean, let's wait till we see which. Dr. Seuss. Dr. Seuss once said, "You have brains in your head. You have feet." That's funny. That's not the industry quote I was looking for, but an earlier version I did it. It really did do from the database industry. Let's remove the humor and add a data industry luminary quote. Yeah, Ralph Kimball. There we go. Doesn't get. So again, it won't do your job for you, and it takes some skill to, they call it prompt engineering. I mean, before you know it, there's going to be LinkedIn job requirements for prompt engineer. But it's kind of like, you ever had friends that they can't find things on Google because they don't know how to ask the question in the right way to kind of get the results? So you still have that aspect of it's a tool, and the better you get at this tool, the better the results you're going to get. And if your expectations are in line, right? Your expectation is, I'm going to write one simple question, and it's going to write, a college thesis in one go. No, it's not going to do that. But it's really powerful, and the better you get at setting up the prompt and telling the tone you want. It really is. I mean, it's super powerful. Just this morning, I was working on um, writing recommendations for a Snowflake health and security checkup. And I went there and got this one I wrote myself, but this role-based access policy, I asked it to write me a blurb on it, and it did. And I was able to use almost all that it wrote. And network access policy. It didn't write the whole document for me in one thing, but I went topic by topic that I knew I wanted to talk about. And when I would struggle with how do I say it, I would just ask ChatGPT to write it. Then I would go, and if I didn't like some of the things the way he said it, I would say it the way I wanted to say it. And that is, you got to keep that in mind. You can't, well, you can put out unchanged stuff, but if you do, you're putting your reputation in ChatGPT's hands, and that's not very smart because previously stated, there are errors, there is bias. You can't, it's a tool, but if you're going to put out content that you use this tool to help write, it's still your reputation, right? So you're the editor, if nothing else. One, summarizing. I have this long document on what the GPDRS is, whatever, I get my acronym wrong, but that European law that's about privacy and what companies have to do to for data retention and the like. So let me find. Come on. All right, so here's a big, I mean, this is 8 pages long. All right, so I'm going to copy it out and I'm going to say, write an executive summary of the following for as much of the text as you can. So that way, I'm hoping it won't tell me the text is too long. So I'm just telling it, do as much as you can. And it writes the overview of the GPDR. Now, I am not a GDPR expert. I am not saying that I actually have the perspective that I can evaluate how good of a summary it did, but other examples where I do know what I'm talking about, and I asked it to summarize it. I've been really pleased with how it summarized work. Look at that. It brought in interesting. Okay. One last example, writing emails. So, I mean, you can start to think of this as a bit as your own personal assistant. I saved this so I wouldn't have to remember what I wrote. So I'm asking it, write I'm going to start a new chat so that way I get a new context. Write a persuasive email introducing Lee Harrington, principal architect at Launch Consulting Group. I have a free software health check to offer. I'm writing to introduce you to Lee Harrington, the principal architect at Launch Consulting Group. Lee has over 15 years of experience. By the way, the last time I wrote, it said I had 20. I have far more than both. But, the fact, I mean, again, I would go in there and I would change the years of experience. 15 years of experience in architecting and developing enterprise software solutions for a diverse range of clients. I mean, it's hilarious. All the extra details it throws in here. Would I use it exactly as is? No. But could I benefit from this as a head start if I'm trying to write a persuasive email, coming up with a sales pitch? I think so. All right. Let me open it up. Hit me with a request. Let's see what ChatGPT can do, because that is the end of the demo.
Hey Lee, I just have a question, if that's okay.
Sure.
So say you wanted to build an app that connects with ChatGPT. Is there a certain API you could use that would be able to do so?
Yeah, they do have an API, and actually, you reminded me of something else I wanted to share. So this is Visual Studio Code, a free editor from Microsoft, and they have a ChatGPT plugin, and in order to use it, you have to go to ChatGPT and get yourself an API key, which you then save. It's your way of logging in, and then now you can ask all those same questions about ChatGPT from within Visual Code Studio. And so just as they use ChatGPT's API, so can you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Hey Lee, this is Ben.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that the ChatGPT model that is currently being used, they do not have a public version of the API for that particular model right now. I believe there's a waiting period for that, but the OpenAI developer APIs that are used to train similar models is available. Is that your understanding as well?
Well, that wasn't my understanding, but I don't have comprehensive knowledge of everything, so I'll say that may be true. So matter of fact, let's go over to because I mentioned Bing. So if you go to like, who of us use Bing? None of us use Bing, right? But now inside Bing there is chat, and that is Bing's integration with ChatGPT, and it improves on or enhances ChatGPT with search, with references. So let's just ask it, can a developer use ChatGPT APIs in their own products? Okay, so the difference between Bing's integration with ChatGPT and what we got from the website is Bing adds references, so which I think is a really important addition. So blog open API hub looks like a reference that might have. So yeah, I still don't know the exact answer under the pressure of a demo. I think I'll leave it at that. But it's a good thing to think, and it gave me an opportunity to talk about another way to interact with ChatGPT, which is with Microsoft Bing, and Microsoft Bing improves on it with references and the fact that it has access to search. So it does ChatGPT and search kind of melded, which also brings me up to u.com, which I don't know who does u.com, but they also are interacting with the ChatGPT API, so they're not so much a competitor as someone else who's using it. And they also meld, can anybody today use APIs to develop apps that call ChatGPT from within their own app? And they kind of gave me search results rather than chat. Oh, that's because I didn't add it in chat. Oh, it did both. All right. According to this, the answer is yes. But again, I'm not trying to. I don't know because I haven't tried to do it. But it gave me a good opportunity to talk about both Bing and u.com and this other place called futuretools.io. This is just a person I came across. He's on Twitter. He makes YouTube videos, and he has this website. And I'm on his email list. So every week I get an email that will have 5 different tools that he talks about. And it just blows your mind how much stuff is already out there. I mean, this is amazing. There are how many tools? 906 tools just in his database of all these different tools. So, like I said, my intent today was to introduce the whole topic, not to have you walk away an expert. But This should be on everybody's radar. It's already helpful, and it's only going to get more powerful. I describe it like the very first iPhone. There were people like me that saw that thing and were like, wow, that's the future. This is really cool. There are other people that looked at that and said, oh, the camera is only 2 megapixel. It's only 2G. And so many other people had already gone to 3G. There's no copy and paste. It doesn't do video. All those things were already in competing phones. So the iPhone was a step back on some of these things. But the whole idea of the interface and, history proved people like me correct, right? So understand this is kind of like the iPhone 1.0 moment. Start learning about these because it's only going to get better. And the earlier you are in the wave, the earlier your own productivity will make you one of the people that benefits versus somebody else who is just delivering work faster than you can. More questions? I'm gonna come and do I like ideas for blog articles on the topic of snowflakes, non-warehouse uses. Beyond the data warehouse, 5 innovative ways to use Snowflake. And then it tells you what those different uses are. How Snowflake is renovating data science.
So I have a quick question.
Sure.
So, earlier on you were showing some of the ways you can use it to write code. Do you think, and curious also what maybe other people think, that there will be a need for those of us who work in data to get even better at debugging other people's code, because business users might try and use ChatGPT to generate Python or SQL or something and not have it work, but not have enough knowledge to debug it thoroughly?
That's awesome. I'll let anybody else want to. I have thoughts on that. Anybody else want to put theirs in first?
I mean, I think it will, obviously, or I wouldn't have asked the question.
No, it's a great question. The way I'm trying to give context because there's nothing entirely new, right? We can learn from similar shifts in the past. So when desktop publishing came out, right, there was a time if you wanted to put out a newsletter, you had to go to a print shop, and they would mock it up and all that. And then desktop publishing software came along, and people wrote these ransom note looking monstrosity of newsletters. They were terrible, but they could do it, right? And then certain people got really good at creating newsletters using the software, and other people stopped using the software to write those letters and depended on the people who were good at it, right? There was a time when just knowing HTML was as marketable a skill as knowing SQL. But along came better tools to where pretty much if you're developing, I'm not talking about the back end, I'm not talking about web apps, but websites is really now a graphic artist's job more than it is a coder's job, right? Because they made the tools to where coding wasn't the essence. Now it's like, how does it look? How does it feel? How does it communicate? So I think the same thing will happen with these AI tools is that some people will use them very effectively and some people won't, but the work doesn't go away. The work of collecting information on the state of a business, on your orders, on your delivery, on your transportation, all the things, we still got to collect all that data and we still got to turn that data into information. But some of the scut work, some of the easy work really will be automated. And either that means you go up the value chain because now you're not spending your time, commenting SQL, or it could be you're the secretary that knows how to do the typewriter but doesn't know word processing. And before you know it, you don't have that job anymore. I think both of those things are going to happen. More thoughts?
Hi, this is Alessandra. I'm just still trying to wrap my head around it. So, um, how can we start using this on our own? I mean, just basically download the app and start playing with it?
That's a great question. I should have had that as part of my content. So if you go to, if you type in ChatGPT in your browser, you're going to come up to OpenAI, and up here where it says try. I know it's a terrible place to put it. Like, everybody wants to try, so they make it really, really tiny. But go up to where it says try, and now you're going to get here. Now I'm already logged in because I have ChatGPT Plus. But matter of fact, let's bring up. Let's see. Oh gosh. How do I bring up a anonymous window? What do you call it?
Incognito?
Yeah.
I forget. Sorry, I just know what it's called.
Incognito. Maybe that's a Chrome. I know I can do it there, but let me just put up Chrome. I know Chrome's is called Incognito. So
this is called the new private window. Go to File, New Private Window.
thank you. Appreciate it. File. New incognito window. All right. So now if we go to search Chat GPT, it's telling me to log in. Now you have to sign up if you haven't signed up, and you have to give them your phone number. And I tried to use my Google. I have a Google Voice phone number, like when I don't want to give people my real number, and it wouldn't accept it. So that is a downside of using Tool. And then you're in. And again, I think it's because I have I just logged in myself. So you'll have to sign up, but you'll see a lot of times during the middle of the day, you're going to see that it's at capacity and you can't get in. Try again later. So you can play with it without paying any money, but it's gotten so popular that a lot of times it's going to be not available. So then you have u.com that I was just showing you that you can go. And I don't remember if I had to sign up for u.com. I know I didn't pay anything. Yeah, get log in and sign up, chat. And look at that. I still haven't logged in. I may not have done an account. So UChat might be a way to go. Sorry, u.com. And then there is the open AI playground, which is see that's ChatGPT. You know what? I will find out that answer because that's another way to get in. It's not ChatGPT, but it's here it is. It's platform.openai.com/playground. I'm going to put that in the chat and the Teams here.
Awesome, thank you.
And that one I've never had it time out. I'm not saying it never will, but I mean it's never been busy that I've tried to use it. but that's not, I'm not guaranteeing that that will always be the case. There we go. So hopefully everyone saw that.
Hey, Lee?
Yeah.
Yeah, just one thing for everybody, like as using any other website where you put in data, per privacy policy, wherever you put data, they can use it for their research. So, just like any other website, what you're putting in is also tracked and logged. That's why you have a phone number associated with the personnel's, whoever creates an account.
That is so important. I need to put this in a drawback. Be careful with the data content, but you put in as it's not private to you. Good point. And like you said, that's not just ChatGPT. That's any kind of web service you use.
Correct.
I did this many moons ago where I had a project I was on where our tool could produce PDFs, but the desired end result was a PowerPoint deck. And there was a web service where you could send them a PDF and it would convert it to a PDF, I'm sorry, a PowerPoint file. And it didn't even occur to me what a stupid thing for me to use that was, because I was sending the client's PDF output to a web service and getting back. So I was younger and more foolish at the time. Don't do that. Good call out.
Well, awesome. Any last questions? We're just about at time.
Was
Great.
this
Well,
rec-
thank you. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Was this
Chandra?
recorded?
It was, yes.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll send that out as well. I will also reform the Teams link so we have a proper functioning link for next month as well.
And we'll send out the deck. And I also
Perfect.
have a video I created, not this one, but a programming one.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll also in the Teams link email I send, I'll also include our sign-up sheet for anybody else who would like to present in future Lunch and Learns. We had a great turnout today. There's a lot of people who want to share. We might increase the frequency of these Lunch and Learns because I love them. It seems other people like them as well. It'd be fun to hear what other people are working on, especially at launch as well. So keep an eye out for that invite. Feel free to sign up on the sign-up sheet if you're interested in sharing. And yeah, thank you everybody for joining us.
Thanks everybody for coming.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.